Welcome inside the IKS Media Studios for another edition of SJHL Weekly. It's our CANTERRA Seeds Cup final special episode today, presented by our good friends at UPL. I guess you can't see it yet. Don't worry about it. We'll show you later. UPL and our friends, you can see it kind of here. The CANTERRA Seeds Cup is on set today. We'll show you in a sec. A little teaser. But we're going to break down games 1 and 2 from the weekend at the Whitney Forum and look ahead to the rest of the week as the series shifts back to Westland Arena in Yorkton, where we know the Terriers faithful is getting themselves into a frenzy right now for games 3 and 4 later this week on Wednesday and Thursday. And we're going to be joined by two guests on the show today, Bombers forward Reid Arberry and Terriers defenseman Gavin Bartha. So it's going to be a great show today. Let's thank our sponsors. We'll start with CANTERRA Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Canalta Hotels, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, Chevrolet, Great Western Brewing Company, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Batterstad. And of course, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, please hit the like button, hit the share button, comment in, let us know what you want to talk about. We know we're going to hear from some people in Flin Flon today who are at the games over the weekend. We want to hear your thoughts on that. We know we're going to hear from Yorkton people who are getting ready to go for games 3 and 4 at Westland Arena. But if you're a fan of another team, let us know what your thoughts on the finals if you're paying attention. Let us know your thoughts on whatever you want to let us know about. So definitely hit up the comments. We'll show them on the screen throughout the show today. Let's bring in my driving partner, broadcast buddy, I don't know what else we want to call it, Jamie Neugebauer. Great weekend up in Flin Flon. Great drive up and back. And as you can see here, the CANTERRA Seeds Cup is in the building. We're sponsored by UPL, of course, as well. So the two of them work very synergistically together. How about that for a word? So Nugsy, I say we work pretty synergistically as well. How was your weekend, I guess, up in Flin Flon?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm tired today.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the way she goes.
Yeah.
The worst part of the drive up was going through Regina, so kudos to you for surviving the winter apocalypse. But yeah, no, it was great. Obviously, everything in the Whitney Forum and the Flin Flon Bombers organization is always first class. Everybody is so nice. And the last thing I'll say is I was the bloodiest guy around the rink there after game 1, I think it was. I don't know what happened, but I think I punched the glass or something when I was about to interview Wyatt Stinton, and my hand was covered in blood. And Sam Ward, this is the type of kid he is.
Yeah.
Sam Ward went and got me a Band-Aid and a little disinfectant spray and got the Band-Aid on, and it's all good. Thank you very much, Sam.
Sam Ward fixed Jamie's boo-boo.
Yeah. He gave me a Band-Aid for my boo-boo. Didn't play because he's still hurt, but he did.
And the best part of it is there's a little trail of blood on the glass.
I know. I said to Joe Lees, I said, Joey, like, should if you give me a cloth, I'll wipe this off.
No,
he's like,
no,
leave it. It adds character.
So
I'm like, all right.
If you're walking by the Flin Flon Bombers dressing room door,
there's some blood on the glass.
That's from Jamie. If you want to clone him or get any DNA for any reason, it's there for you. All right, Nugsy, let's get into the action because that's what we're here for. That's what the people want to hear about. Games 1 and 2 went down on Friday and Saturday over the weekend. Game 1, pretty wild. We'll get into that in a moment. 7-3 win for the Flin Flon Bombers. At one point, it was 4-3. So we'll get into why was it so close, what happened there, and then how did it get, I'm not going to say out of hand, but how did the Bombers break away in that game? We'll talk about that. And then on Saturday, a 3-0 shutout win in Game 2 for the Bombers. Charlie Tritt with the shutout in that one. And we heard Mike Reagan after the game as he was kind of walking around saying, now that's Bomber hockey. So we'll talk about why that's the case for Game 2. But Nugsy, let's start with Game 1, and we'll have a look at the scoring recap here as we kind of guide our way through this game. It started off, the Whitney Forum was ablaze. Obviously, the start of the game, they were excited, they were loud just to kick things off, but there were hits. On both sides, there were hits. It was a very physical start to the game. Yorkton actually looked pretty good in the first 3.5 minutes, I would say. They actually got a few chances, they got a few shots off. Charlie Tritt looked sharp early, but then Landon Alexander and Nathan Lalumiere, within a couple minutes of each other, really blew the roof off of that arena. So talk to me about your thoughts. Let's go through Game 1 here.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of both games, 1 and Game 2, had similar themes. I think This game was a lot more wide open than I expected.
Yeah, same here.
That Mike Reagan and probably Emery Lawson expected. And there were a lot of odd man rushes. It was electric, especially the first period. The physicality was very clear. It was very exciting hockey.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of mistakes. I think both teams were nervous, and I think that showed in the end, except for Charlie Tritt. That kid is not nervous. But other than that, you know, it was really interesting. Obviously, the Terriers went down 4-1, and you saw that, and they pulled. You know, they pulled Callum Craig. They brought in Alejandro Montoya. And Alejandro was pretty good, and it really sparked the team. And, you know, speaking to Emery after the game, you know, he basically said, you know, we just kind of used it as a free timeout, essentially, because they really do trust Alejandro. As you see right there, both, you know, Tommy Rees scored a gorgeous goal, and then Austin Horbaczewski scored, and it was about 30 seconds apart, and it was 4-3, and all of a sudden it was game on. And you'll see here quickly, I always talk about, what do I talk about all the time? Talk about face-offs matter, right? Connor Miller wins the draw, set play, Ryder Knutson, rebound, Rhett Ewan, who, by the way, led the first 2 games in scoring chances. He's the only guy to score in both games, in fact, as well, Rhett Ewan. Boy, was he a beast.
He's been a force.
A force, yeah, and he scored there. And, you know, the third period then, I think there was a lot of adjustment made, and I think the third period was a lot more like the rest of game 2. In fact, it was heavy, hard hockey, simple hockey from the Bombers, and I think the Terriers maybe got a bit of a wake-up call about how tight and how confining it is, both in the arena and also just to play against the Bombers, whereas, you know, I think the Weyburn Red Wings really prepared Flin Flon, Clark, for finals type of hockey, and, you know, if that was the finals between Flin Flon and Weyburn, don't mean any disrespect at all to Yorkton or Battlefords, then we would see, okay, that's finals type hockey.
Yeah.
But then, you know, this one, game 2, again, was much more what I expected it to be, cagier, and it was still fun to watch. I think you would agree. But but the Bombers' game plan was just to a T.
Now, one thing that I noticed, and I asked a couple of little players about it during the game, as the rinkside reporter, chatting with some of the players, and even Emery Lawson as well during the game. It seemed like very early on, the memo in the Yorkton Terriers locker room was win the physicality battle. They came out hitting everything that moved in that first period of game 2.
Yeah.
But what I wondered about Nugsy was, you know, we've seen a Yorkton Terriers team that's very dynamic offensively all season long, solid defensively, and elements of physicality. But was it a case where maybe they tried to get a little bit away from their game, their own style that they're used to playing, in order to maybe add that physical nature to their game? Because they seem to be maybe even out-hitting Flin Flon, to an extent at least, over the first half or, you know, 3/4 of the first period. But then it was Reed Arberry who got a goal to kind of, going into the second period, last minute of a period, it's always a dagger to score a goal. And from that moment on, it seemed like Flin Flon just said, okay, enough's enough. This is our rink. This is our physical battle. This is our game. That's what it seemed like to me. But what were your thoughts on the whole physicality of game 2?
I mean, again, I really thought about these 2 games when I was preparing for today's show as sort of one whole game almost, like 120 minutes of hockey combined. And if you look at the metrics, Yorkton did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
And if this is, like, the fact that they're down 2-0, the fact that they got outscored 10-3 has zero to do with effort or character or consistency or anything like that. Like, the Terriers played their hearts out both games, and the metrics really back that up, not just watching it. The face-off dot, 54% Yorkton. The hits, 53-48 Yorkton.
Yeah.
The puck battles, 214 to 210 Yorkton. Now, high scoring chances, all in Flin Flon's favor. Obviously, the goals I mentioned. Corsi was heavily in favor of Flin Flon, so the puck was in Yorkton's end a lot, and it was ground and pound and cycle and heavy. I think 9 of the 10 goals that Flin Flon scored were in the house.
Yeah.
Like, the one goal that wasn't in the house was a point shot from Braden Bruce.
Right.
That kind of got away from Montoya when the game was kind of out of hand already.
The 7th goal in game 1.
Yeah, so it was really, really, hard for the Terriers to generate the offense that they wanted. And when they got those chances, man, was Charlie Tritt locked in.
Yeah.
Like to a crazy degree. And did he have to make a million great saves? No, he didn't. But part of that, and I was talking on the broadcast with the play-by-play guy, Austin Mattis, is that he didn't create problems for himself. He was in position. His upper body was quiet. His feet were quiet. He was getting rebound control. Like if you go back and watch, like there were like no loose rebounds on Charlie. Like he was so professional looking in these two games that it really didn't give the Terriers a sniff.
Yeah.
And so, he didn't have to be great because he didn't create problems for himself. And also they have a bunch of gorillas on the back end for Flin Flon, which we saw. But that all being said, there are positives to build on for Yorkton as we head to game 4.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy of mine about this series. He's not a fan of either team necessarily, but we were just chatting about the series a little bit. And he made a good point, and we've kind of mentioned this a little bit throughout the season and recently in the playoffs and stuff, but the Flin Flon team that they've put together this year is built so well to win at the Whitney Forum. With the way that the rink is shaped, like it's a little bit smaller, tighter ice surface. And when you mentioned that 9 of their 10 goals were scored basically in the crease in some form or another, it just goes to show that A, they're very good at figuring out how to get into that area with the puck, with possession, and they're also, and this was maybe one of the bigger problems that I thought of for Yorkton side of things, they are extremely good at keeping the puck out of that area in their own end, and which is another big reason, again, Charlie Tritt, he didn't have to get those second or third chances on him because A, they're clearing it out, they're not letting it in the first place, or C, like you mentioned, Charlie was just locked in and didn't give up any chances in that spot. So I think that's a big aspect of this series so far is the differences in the venues that we're going to be at. The Whitney and the Westland Arena are not the same beast.
Though I saw a comment,
They're
there
different.
was a little comment interaction between a Terriers fan and a Flin Flon fan, as I was saying, like made a post on our socials saying, looking forward to game 3. What are you going to bring Yorkton? I think it's sold out. It is way sold out.
They're at a point in Yorkton
they're asking for season ticket people if they're not coming to release their tickets.
So if you're watching and you're a season ticket holder
you can't
Yorkton,
just walk up. And games on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Today's Monday.
Yeah. If you're a season ticket holder in Yorkton, the team has requested on all their social media channels that you please confirm that you're coming. Because if you're not, they want to release your tickets and get more people in the building. So please, if you're listening or if you know some people who are like, I'm not sure if we're going to go, but we have season tickets, please pass that word along in Yorkton because they're already sold out. They're trying to find ways to get more people in. And there's a waiting list from what we've heard.
That's right.
So
long waiting list.
A long waiting list. So please, do your best. I know that community is going to come together and figure it out, but I think the one thing that I'll say now that we've kind of talked about games 1 and 2, Flin Flon winning both games, is that the best part of this series, Nugsy, is that it's not over yet. And we're going to talk about games 3 and 4 a little bit later on in the show. So stick with us here as we kind of wrap this up. We're going to bring in Gavin Bartha soon. I don't know if he's logged in yet. I don't think he is, but we're going to go right to Gavin basically when he logs in and chat with Gavin. And get his perspective. But like I said, the best part is that we've seen series go 2-0 before, 3-0 before, 3-0, and teams have come back or pushed into game 6s, game 7s. And just recently, we were...
To your point, like someone was bringing up 2022.
Yeah.
And obviously that was Estevan and Yorkton, Flin Flon, pardon me, and 2 great teams.
Yes.
Obviously. And games 1 and 2 in Estevan, the Bruins handled business pretty well, and then went up to Flin Flon, and then the Bombers definitely handled business 3 and 4, and that whole series was home team winning, home team winning, home team winning.
Right.
So certainly, that can happen. The Terriers did a very nice job, adjusting from games 1 to 2.
Yeah.
And I know they lost 3-0, and they didn't get a ton of great scoring chances in game 2, pardon me, but they had a better grasp of this is what the final is going to look like. This is what facing this Flin Flon team needs to look like. Maybe if you're, a skilled winger on the Yorkton Terriers, you need to be more aware and thinking and locked in what could happen if we lose the puck, because the transition is so fast that it'll be down your throat in a second. So you need to kind of be aware if you're not right in the play, like, hey, I need to be ready to be that third guy back to help the D-men out. And I think the Terriers really figured that out and learned that. Emery Lawson said, you know what, Bartha, who's listening actually now, and Tommy Reese and Tyler Palin. I know, you're a skilled guy, like you want to chip in. That's your main thing, is kind of playing offense, but maybe be a little bit more cautious. And that led to a few less scoring chances in Game 2 for Yorkton. Game 1, Yorkton had 14 scoring chances, high-risk scoring chances. In Game 2, they had 6. So Yorkton had a harder time getting offense too. Also, Flin Flon had a harder time getting offense. So kudos to Yorkton for adjusting, and I think that'll stand them in good stead.
I don't know if it was because Game 1 was so wide open that Game 2 just felt like the margin of errors were so limited and small. Like, you could not find an inch in Game 2. The physicality was electric on both sides, both teams. Like I mentioned earlier, both teams really came into Game 2. I think definitely there was adjustments for sure being made after Game 1 on both sides, but for Yorkton, like I mentioned, definitely it was clear that it was, okay, we got to be more physical this game and really take it to them, take our game to them instead of trying to do it the other way around.
They were they were throwing more hits. They were moving their feet more, and they were taking less penalties. In Game 1, there was a lot of power plays. And
and you know what's funny?
And some people were upset with the officiating. I didn't actually, and people are going to yell at me, and that's fine. I actually thought the referees did a fine job kind of keeping things in line, maybe, in the first game. That's what they were trying to do, keep things civilized. That didn't sit well with some people, but way to go. They think they're doing their best. And then Game 2, there was a lot fewer power plays. So.
And if you take out the power play goals that were scored in Game 1 on both sides, it was a 4-2 hockey game. It was 7-3 overall, but 3 goals for Flin Flon on the power play, 1 for Yorkton, so it's a 4-2 game. Take out the special teams factor, but you can't. The special teams factor is so important. We talk about that all the time. I actually asked Mike Reagan that during the game. During game, which game did I ask him that question? Game 2? Game 1? I can't remember. It was all such a blur. But I did ask him, I'm like, how crucial is it at this point of the season to be winning a special teams game? And he said it's a big focus on our team, and we got to take advantage of it.
And the depth of this Flin Flon team just so ludicrous, because you think about who they didn't even have in Game 1 and 2. They didn't have Sam Ward. They didn't have the regular season power play goals leader in Joey Lees.
And
they didn't have Daniel Morozov for a bunch of it. You go down the list. I know
some of the younger
Leo
guys.
Seitz is a huge power play piece for Flin Flon. Yet, no problem. You asked Mike Reagan, you got all these guys hurt. What does that hurt? He's like, it doesn't hurt us. I mean, it hurts them because they care about those guys. Those are good players. Everybody would love to have those guys.
They want them in the lineup.
But even without them in the lineup, they're still like playing the Bomber way.
And like
how credit to all of them.
How crucial of a player has Ryan Ulmer been so far? Who is
I'm such a big fan.
A quote unquote fourth line player for Flin Flon. Keaton Lesperance has been really solid, jumping into the lineup when needed. So like that's what we've been talking about with Flin Flon all year.
Who is your favorite? Who is the best Terrier in the first 2 games? If up to you.
Okay.
I know I threw that at you.
Well, no,
I can give my answer first.
Tommy Reese for sure for me, because again, in Game 1, his goal, you could see.
That was a sweet.
Here's a little behind-the-scenes story, and if Gavin's listening, he'll remember because I was right behind him for a good chunk of it. But I got on the bench in Game 1 a few minutes early because I had to interview Emery Lawson during the media timeout. So I got on there, I'm going to say 2 or 3 minutes before I needed to be. So I was on the bench, and I was like, okay, it's 3-1 at this point. I got my questions in my head of what I'm going to ask Emery. And then they scored their 4th goal, Flin Flon did. And I was like, oh, man. Bad timing, because I was like, I don't want Emery to be grumpy because they just scored a goal. Then they switched their goalies, and I'm like, oh no, like now I've got to ask about the goalie change. And then, but instantly, Tommy Reese flies down, scores a goal. And then instantly, right after that, who scored? Orbachewski scored right after that, and I'm like, oh good, now Emery will be happy when I talk to him, at least. So I was on the bench there for that whole sequence. But you could tell, and when I say Tommy Reese is my favorite player, my point is, you could tell, A, he took that goalie change personally, and B, he did something about it instantly.
Sure.
And I also thought in game 2, he was a big driving force behind a lot of what offense they did get. And of course, like you mentioned, the chances were down because the Flin Flon was just being so stingy with room and offensive zone time for Yorkton. But I felt like Tommy Reese, anytime anything was happening, he was sort of central to it.
Sure. My terrier of games 1 and 2 was Cash Lanigan.
Fair.
Hitting everything.
Can't argue that.
Emotionally getting into it. When Kyle Marsden got into the lineup in game 2, who did he look at and say, I'm going to like disrupt?
2 guys.
He went
mainly.
Right after.
Austin Horbaczewski.
Well, Horbaczewski, because Horbaczewski is kind of
and then Cash Lanigan.
The pest of their team, kind of. And he was awesome too, by the way.
Yeah.
And Cash Lanigan is awesome. Man, oh man, what a young talent they have there.
But another one of my favorites, Noogsy.
Oh yeah.
We'll just go with that.
Shooter.
What's our next? Well, why don't we bring him in? Let's bring him in. Gavin
Shooter.
Bartha. Shooter McGavin, as Noogsy has now dubbed him. Gavin, thanks for joining us today. Obviously, a lot of travel in the last couple days, and of course, 2 really intense games. But appreciate your time. Let's just first off say, how nice is it to be back at home in the bed you're used to sleeping in most of the season?
Oh, it's great. Like, yeah, it's just nice to be home and have those homemade meals and see my billet family.
Yeah,
it's been great. Yeah.
For sure. So obviously, we'll get to the games in a sec. I talked to you on the ice. Gavin, I got to be honest. The 2 games are blurring together. I can't remember what game it was that I talked to you. I think it was game 1.
Game 1, yeah.
Just mentioned that on the ride up there, you got to stop in Swan River, which is where you were playing previously, and stop and see your billets there. You mentioned how cool that was. Can you just maybe talk about that experience for people who might have missed that story?
Yeah, it was, we were on the way up there, and my billets had come down for a few games in Yorkton to watch and support, and I was really close with them. And yeah, so I went up to the front of the bus, and I asked Emery if I could have dinner with them, and I just told him we were having dinner at the Westwood Inn. And yeah, and then they brought the 2 little girls, my 2 little billet sisters I had, and then it was just really good to see them. And they support us so much. They support the Terriers, Swan River, and they're just a great family.
Awesome.
There you go. Hey, Clark and I on the way back down stopped at the Timberland Inn, and that was really good, actually.
And we saw Bo Eisner there.
Bo Eisner there.
So, small world.
Super good, small world. There you go. Gavin, I got to ask you, we were just talking based on what we watched, there seemed to be a pretty big difference in game plan for you guys between games 1 and game 2. As much as you're willing, could you maybe share with us what the difference in game plan was?
Yeah, I think just to play more simple and like kind of find our game and be confident in ourselves. Like, it's obviously a bit harder being on the road. Like, we haven't been on the road to start a series yet, and then now we are, and kind of just we have to find our footing right away. But just playing simple, I think, is the way we got to go now about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just talk about, stepping into the cauldron. Obviously, it's tight spaces. Obviously, you guys hadn't played there in a long time. You haven't played the Bombers in a long time. Like, there were a lot of things that might have been difficult for you guys for sure. So we recognize, I know you're not making excuses, but we're just recognizing a lot of things that would have been difficult for any group of human beings in your situation. So we recognize that. But just talk about going into the Whitney Forum with the noise and the mystique and everything, and what that was like for you.
Oh yeah, I just think like there's great history in that rink as well, and it's really cool to play there. You hear all these funny stories about the moose leg or the fans, like how crazy they are, and it really showed the atmosphere of just how much like this community supports their team, and same as ours. Like, we had so many fans come up, and we're forever grateful for that. And yeah, it was a cool experience for sure. But I think once we just got to figure out how to play in that rink, and it's just a rink. Like, we still play our game, and yeah.
For sure. Gavin, I was by the exit gate when you guys were departing the ice. Well, both nights, but night 2. Obviously, there's going to be frustrations and some upset things said and on the way out. But overall, though, I felt that the vibe from a lot of the guys was still fairly confident. Would you agree that, yes, of course, there's some frustrations, but that overall the group still feels pretty confident?
Yeah, like obviously there's frustration in the room. Like, we're looking to go for a split. We're looking to get some wins in Flin Flon, and we know it's hard. But the group, like we've been so resilient all year, and we just believe, and like it's such a tight group, tight knit group, and I think that's what really brings our team together, and I think that's what will carry us on through.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, the Westland Arena, we've already heard stories that the crowd's going to be ridiculous. You got to experience the crowds throughout the first couple of rounds. What's the next couple of days like for you guys in terms of getting ready to play in front of that crowd back at home and knowing that they're going to be excited for you guys as well?
I think the biggest thing right now is recovery. It's like been a long road trip, and the guys really take into it, and they really put a lot of effort in recovery, and I think that's really good and for our team and staying healthy, and then just learning the systems, watching video, and knowing what we could do better, and we know we could do way better, and we could put our foot on the gas and really take another step and find our next jump for our team.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, Gavin, like I was asking Emery about you, and he said he went to watch Swan to maybe look at another guy, and he's like, oh, I gotta have this Bartha guy. But then another interesting piece of all this is, I'm really happy for you because a couple of years of, let's face it, like you played a bunch of junior hockey on teams that didn't really expect to go super far, except for your U18 team just won their first game, I think, at the TELUS Cup there, the Okanagan Rockets. I don't know if you paid any attention to that. Yeah. But basically, this is a rambly way to say, how has it been in terms of going from franchises where maybe there's a different focus, and I'm not disrespecting anybody on purpose, but to a team and an organization that the expectation is win every period, win every night, and bring a championship? That's got to be a totally different mindset.
Yeah, I guess I started in Olds, Alberta, and that's where I really put my foot in the door and really got into juniors and met a lot of good people there and some good coaches I still am in contact with. And that's when I kind of got to like my head, like this is a lot different than U18. And as I moved on to Swan River, like just to be there, like, yeah, you're on a weaker team, a team that's lower in the standings, but that also gives you a big chance for opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I think the opportunity that I got really helped me grow as a player and really develop to be what I could doing right now, and being able to come to a team that is so successful, right?
Yeah, for sure. Last one from me, Gavin. We really super appreciate your time. As tired as we are, you guys played 2 whole hockey games, so
yeah,
we'll bow to you.
He's got us beat.
You got me beat.
Yeah.
Gotta ask you, like obviously we were talking, I don't know if you heard us, we were talking about how many tickets are already sold and how many fans are already expected to be at the barn at the Westland Arena, as it has been for you guys pretty much all year, how crazy it's been there. Yeah. So kudos. But other than the fact that, it's gonna be bananas with the fans, what on the ice maybe needs to be different in game 3 for you guys to find a way to win that game and really change the series?
I think like just trusting in our process. Like we as a team, like I feel like we're a team that just continuous hard work and we wear people down, and I think that's our biggest success. And I think if we could continue to do that and just a little more kind of like attitude, then I think we could really take over the game and show our appreciation for our fans and all their support through not just showing up to the rink, but in the community. Like you go out and they've just been great. Like today I was at the hot tub with Gabrielle Corshane and Vinay, and we were walking out and there's all these little kids coming in. They're like, oh, they know our names. So like, oh, it's Gavin Bartha. Oh, are you Gabrielle Corshane? And it was a pretty surreal feeling, like knowing like just you could really like influence the younger generation to be like you and just be a good character, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Gavin, we'll let you get back to that recovery because I know there's a big couple of days ahead to get ready for Wednesday. So we'll let you get back to it, but appreciate you joining us today. Thanks buddy.
Bud.
Yeah, thank you very much.
There you go. Gavin Bartha, what a guy. All right, we're going to hit a break. And when we come back, it sounds like Reed Arberry just logged in, so he'll be ready to roll. So let's hit that commercial break. We'll be back right after with Reed Arberry.
The price beat guarantee is back at Capital GMC in Regina. We will beat any price on any new vehicle from any competitor, or you get $500 cash guaranteed. The price beat guarantee at Capital GMC in Regina.
At Vatterstad, we're partnering with North American farmers to create the perfect emergence. We're doing this with new and innovative tillage, planting, and seeding solutions, optimized for the field conditions that you face, and with industry-leading capacities to help you get the job done in short windows of time, so you can maximize yields. Vatterstad, we look forward to growing together.
Mister.
Every ticket you buy funds programs all across Saskatchewan, like sports. Buy your tickets today.
In the last decade, the construction industry has reduced injuries by 46%. That's as many injuries prevented that would fill several stadiums. Find out more at scsaonline.ca.
Feeling like your dreams are out of reach? RBC has programs and resources to help you open the door. With RBCX Music, RBC Training Ground, and RBC Scholarships, your idea of your highest potential happens here.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back inside. We're going to head right out to the video chat line now, as we're joined by Reid Arberry, forward for the Flin Flon Bombers. Reid, a big weekend for you guys. I got to speak with you a little bit after game one. Obviously, it was an exciting week at the Whitney Forum, but talk to us about let's start with the atmosphere there for you guys, being able to play in front of that crowd for 2 games in a row there.
Yeah, obviously it's great to be in that atmosphere. It's unlike anything I've encountered in juniors before, and definitely coming out of AAA, it's something that you'd never even think of playing in front of in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it was game 2, Nugsy. See, I'm getting all the games mixed up. It's game 2. But the big takeaway that Nugsy and I took away from me and your chat after game 2 was talking about quieting the crowd in Yorkton, anticipating that it's going to be a big crowd there. Has that been a discussion at all since? I mean, I guess game 2 feels like it just ended last night, but there has been a day. So has there been a bit of a discussion amongst the team about going into a pretty hostile environment on the road now?
Yeah, a little bit. Like you said in the episode earlier, like we're designed really well to win at home, and that's something we got to take on the road with us. Our style can't change just because we're on a bigger ice sheet. We still got to get to the hard areas and play our game the way we play it in the wet.
Yeah, for sure. Now I got to ask you, Reid, like those 2 games, could they have gone better for you guys?
I think the game 1, we got a little lackadaisical in the second period, maybe got a little bit comfortable with our lead, and that's something that we have to eliminate from our game. But other than that, I think we were pretty tight defensively and had a lot of guys making the right plays and buying into what we needed to do.
Yeah, and I was joking with Clark too. Like, I got to start with what was your favorite moment at the Viking Cup? But we're not gonna.
Newsy loves bringing that up.
I love the Viking Cup. I can't get enough of it. We could talk about that another time. Yeah. All right. I got to ask you though about the fact that you guys continue to kind of tick along. I know again you talked about maybe not having the great second period, and when the Terriers kind of rallied, and kudos to them because I think they played really well in that period too. So there's obviously it always takes two to tango. But you guys are missing a bunch of dudes too, and health is a thing for everybody at this point in the year for sure. But I mean, we could go down the list. Obviously Joey Lees, obviously Sam Ward, again Morozov and Seitz and et cetera. But it doesn't seem like you guys kind of miss a beat, even though you miss those guys, of course. What is it about your group that you guys don't worry about who's not there and keep playing your game?
I think we just have trust in everyone in our locker room, and especially the young guys that came in this year. They've stepped in and played such a great role. They know when they need to step up when guys are out of the lineup, and they know when they need to go play a simple game and do their thing. And that's the beauty of our team, is that we have 4 lines that can all produce and we all work the same amount. Yeah,
for sure. Do you practice doing interviews? Because you're so good at being like right on the money. Do you like, is that something you've thought of or practiced before? Because you seem to nail it, buddy.
Not overly, no, but talked to you a couple times.
Yeah, so. You're like, this guy's like, I've finally done with Nugsy. Thank God. No, can't get rid of anybody.
Back. No. Your line has been pretty effective in putting up points. Connor Miller, Ryder Muka. I know that the combos change throughout the game, but let's go with that as your line for the most part. What is it about the 3 of you guys that seem to work pretty well together? Again, you and Connor specifically have scored some pretty important goals so far in this series.
I think with Millsy, we got exactly what we wanted out of him. Was just a guy that's willing to work every night, no matter what. And he's going to the hard areas. And I know if I'm F1 on the forecheck, I got Millsy right off my shoulder, and he's going to be the next guy in the pile. Then you throw in a smart guy like Muka. He's a shooter, and he's a skill guy for us. He battles with us, but we're looking to get him in an area to put the puck in the net. We're crashing the net, and that's where goals are scored in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, we were talking about it earlier. 9 of the 10 goals that you guys have scored have pretty much been within, let's say, 4 feet of the crease at least.
Yeah. They're all about the putts.
Clearly, that's working for you guys, and a big reason for that. Let's go down your lineup sheet a little bit, just below you. Rhett Ewan, Wyatt Stinton, Landon Alexander. Boys, those guys have been firecrackers for this whole series. I know after Game 1, we were chatting with the coaching staff for you guys. And by their count, our count's different, but by their count, Landon Alexander, for example, had 21 hits in Game 1. It didn't quite come to that count when we had our stats count, but the physicality of those guys, does that open things up for you guys even a little bit?
Oh, absolutely it does. Like, the 3 of them dressed up as the Hanson brothers for Halloween. I couldn't think of a more fitting group for them.
Yeah.
They go and they scare the defenseman off, and then the next line comes up, and they're half as physical as Alexander and Ewan, and they got just as much time out there.
Right.
Yeah, and they got their little brother Wyatt out there. That's nice.
Yeah.
And obviously, he just puts the puck in the net. So there you go.
He gets cross-checked and scores at the same time. I mean, that's got to be difficult.
I want to ask you, Reed, about you though. I mean, the perception maybe of you when you were a rookie was kind of banger, 3rd, 4th line, gritty, whatever it takes to win. Chip in offensively, kind of in and out of the lineup, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like you've kept that, that grit, that sandpaper, that determination, that physicality, and added like a ridiculous shot and a clutch goal scoring and a bunch of things. What would you say you've added to your game as you've continued to get older within the SJ?
I think mostly just confidence. Like, these are all things that I was doing in AAA and AA growing up. And then when I got to the junior A level, it was more playing on the 4th line and needing to get pucks out on the wall. And that was my job, was to be responsible. And that was my focus when I was younger, was to just be someone that Mike could trust throwing in. And then I built my confidence from there, and it's worked out great for me in my 20-year-old year.
Yeah, I would say it worked out. Obviously, I guess, so my joke with Clark again too is, you after the Viking Cup, you just loved to torture Sate again. I guess after, because you wanted to go to the ACAC and beat them again, I guess. But talk about your commitment to Nate. The development there, and why pick Nate, and is there a program that you like? And I guess just generally, what you saw maybe of the ACAC at the Viking Cup specifically that, made you say, hey, this is a place that I think I want to play.
I think playing against them at the Viking Cup, it was definitely a little bit eye-opening. Guys were kind of talking a little bit and maybe didn't think they were going to be as good as they were. And even Augustana, who's more of a bottom team in that league, they weren't that far off from Sate. They were just missing a couple key pieces, I think. And I think the league has definitely gained a bunch of guys' respect from that tournament. And for me, Nate was just not an easy choice, but it's closer to home for me being a northern boy. Only 6 hours away, thank God. Still a long drive. But I want to be a firefighter, and I have for a couple, probably the last 10 years now, most of my life. And I think that the program they got there, I can get right into that, and it'll be a good experience for me.
That's great. 6 hours, that's nothing. We just drove 7 hours twice on the weekend. That's no big deal. 6 hours.
More than 7.
Well, a little bit more. But, okay, last one for me, and then we'll let you get going. We thought that, we were just talking to Gavin Bartha, obviously. We thought that maybe some game plans shifted from game 1 to 2. I guess I'll start there. Was there any discussion of a shift of game plan from game 1 to 2 for you guys? And then to build on that, now that you're heading out on the road, has there been a shift in game plan at all going into game 3 yet? I know it's still early. You have a couple days probably before you take off. But what have the discussions been around the game plan, game to game?
I think game 1, we just wanted to kind of set the tone and show them the physicality we can bring in our building. And when that one kind of got away from us, we didn't really shift game plans. We more or less got away from our game plan in game 1. And then we locked it up in game 2. And then going into game 3, we know that they're going to have a strong push. So we're not necessarily trying to change anything, but we're going to make adjustments if we need to. And we're trying to force them to be uncomfortable in their own building, more or less.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Last one for me. Again, appreciate your time, Reid. Much shorter trip this time, buddy. You guys were trying to go for as far driving as you could, I guess.
Pretty much.
With Estevan and Weber, and I'm like, if they expanded to Minot, back to Minot, you would probably try to play them in the playoffs too. But a little bit better this time going to Yorkton, so that's not bad. But what are you watching on the bus there, buddy? Give me your tips.
Well, when I was around Viking time, I was watching the Game of Thrones, but I've ended that one, and right now I'm honestly just going back through Trailer Park Boys. It's always good for a laugh.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, can't go wrong, really. That's a go-to.
Yeah.
Trailer Park Boys, love it.
Yeah, that's a go-to. All right, Reid, well, we'll let you get back to it, get downloading those episodes, and we'll see you in Yorkton.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
There you go, Reid Arberry. Really, really great couple of games for him up at the Whitney. Yeah. And my guess is he might be a pretty big factor.
Well, he scored the game winner in game 2.
Yeah.
Great
my guess is
rebound.
He might be a pretty big factor going forward, too. All right, Nugsy, let's do Nugs and Notes. How about it? We have some stuff to talk about. So it's time. I know I'm probably throwing it on the guys. Nugs and Notes.
There you go. Love it.
Before you get into Nugs and Notes, Nugsy, and this is maybe a bigger question for Commissioner Kyle McIntyre.
Okay.
I was asked at the Whitney Forum, and I forgot to bring it up, why our teams are out of order.
That's a good question.
I've never noticed that, but it goes 20-22-23 Battlefords, then 24-25 Melfort, then 23-24 Melfort. So Kyle, if you're listening, it's not a huge deal. I'm just curious. I don't know what happened there.
We'll get that fixed.
Yeah.
It's all good. Okay. Speaking of things that
I guess it's Melfort either way.
Things that might get people in trouble. I heard that Connor Miller's, I think, grandparents won the 50-50. I'm sure it's on Nugs and Trailer Park Boys in the background, but you can't prove it. Well, I won't confirm or deny that either.
Yeah.
But Connor Miller's grandparents
Send us a screenshot.
share some money with your grandson. Okay?
Right.
I mean, he's a hardworking kid.
What happened?
He's a good young
Did you
man.
say what happened?
What do
Did
you
you
mean?
say that they won the 50-50?
I just said that.
Oh, you said that? I wasn't sure. I think I got distracted.
So Connor Miller's grandparents won the 50-50. And I think it was like 30 grand. I think it was
Thanks,
like,
Kyle.
yeah, ask the
Parker's
Barkers.
trophy.
I think it was like 30 grand. So share some money with him, and then maybe he can share some money with me. All right.
Right.
The Patsies open.
Or just skip the middleman and just share
or
some
just
money
share
with.
some money with me, and just keep leaving Connor Miller in the quiet there, in the dark. Love it.
He doesn't.
All right. I mean, that would be bizarre, but anyways, we're keeping moving on. The Patsies open their Telus Cup tonight against the host Peterborough Petes. You can watch it on HN Live with our buddy Sean Mullen. I actually looked it up, went deep into it. I looked up 50. There are 15 guys on the Patsies that are listed by SJHL teams.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read them all out. You can go find them on SJHL.ca, though, which I made a post about this morning. And you can go and read all 15 guys. And the Centennial Cup picture continues as well. The Truro Bearcats and the Edmonton Blizzard and the Manitoba Maritime League. Pardon me. We'll kick their thing off tonight, so could be a repeat champion. Edmonton won it last year, of course. The Quebec League, Collège Français de Longueuil is up 2-0 on Beauce, so it's looking like Longueuil. The CCHL Rockland, who was the best team in CCHL all year, maybe the best team in the CJ, maybe. They're up 2-0 on Smiths Falls. They should cruise in, you'd think. The OJHL, my old team, the Toronto Patriots, reached out to my old buddy Mario Ferraro, who's on the San Jose Sharks, who was on Patriots team with me. That won the championship last time the Patriots were there. I said, the Patriots in the finals, how about that? And he's like, I love it, love to see it. So they're up 2-0 on Newmarket. In the OJ and the NOJ, the Sudbury Cubs are trying to go back-to-back to the Centennial Cup. They're up 2-0 on Timmins. The SIJHL, the Thunder Bay North Stars are up 2-0 on Fort Francis. So they're up. The Niverville Nighthawks, who are big favorites in the Manitoba finals, are up 2-0 on Verdun, and could we have two Manitoba teams in the Centennial Cup? Could happen. Could happen. Of course, Flin Flon. There you go. So good weekend for for Manitoba junior hockey. And then finally, the Alberta Junior League. The Whitecourt Wolverines trail the Canmore Eagles. Whitecourt was the top team, I think, in a lot of the AJ season, but now Canmore is up 2-0 on them. So pretty big couple road wins for Whitecourt as they go back to Canmore, up 2-0 to the Eagles.
Right.
So pretty cool stuff, and of course 2-0 Flin Flon up on Yorkton.
Right, there you go. There's Nugs and Notes.
Nugs and Notes.
Okay, we're going to talk about game 3 and 4. We're going to package them together, obviously, because it's hard to say any difference for us in terms of predictions from one game to the next, or in terms of keys to the game. Before we do that, I'm throwing this at you. This won't be a difficult thing for you to catch up with, though. In Flin Flon, I got to try out a few of the local cuisines. I got to try Chicken Chef that everyone talks about. Got to try the Orange Toad. Really good.
Love Orange Toad.
The peanut butter bar there, if they're listening, jeepers, that was good. The smoothie was great as well, and the tea was also great. What I'm asking before we talk about game 3 and 4, we're going to be in Yorkton. And of course, our hotel is around the franchises, the Boston Pizzas, the Mr. Mike's. What's the place in Yorkton, and I know Benny Walchuk will probably have a good answer for us here, but what's a couple places in Yorkton that are off the beaten path? Is there a local place we got to go to? Kyle McIntyre also probably knows the answer to this question.
He probably frequented some of the less savory ones, I would say, in his time there.
For sure. For sure.
Well, and also, I think I remember Kyle talking about Vinny Junek's family at a pizza spot. If I'm mistaken.
Okay. Because we're going to be there for a couple days. A few meals will be had while we're there. So I'm just thinking, I've had Boston Pizza. I've had Mr. Mike's before. And I'm not complaining about those places.
No.
But is there a Yorkton staple that we need to get to while we're there? So if you're in the comments, throw it in the comments now. Or if you see us in the rink, say, Kate, you got to try this place or that place.
Or if you know of a place that has good gluten-free options.
That's another key factor to that would be that.
For me, enough, right?
Okay, keys to the games as we get into games 3 and 4. Again, we're going to package this together because our keys won't change probably right now. Maybe after game 3 we'll talk about it. But what do you think would be coming out of the first two? Let's start with Flin Flon, hitting in the road. We know that they're so good at home. They're very good on the road too, but they have shown throughout the season, how am I going to say this? Some cracks in the armor on the road, let's say.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the key for them to get a good start in game 3?
Well, that's
or just
it.
in general.
The key is to get a good start in game 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fair
I think we have seen times where the Bombers are so mentally shifted, switched on, and intense, and firing all cylinders and hitting like beasts.
Yeah.
Mostly a lot at the Whitney Forum, and not every time on the road. And that's fair. They're human beings. They're not going to be the same every night. I've seen I'm sure Mike Reagan is saying there's no excuse not to start from the beginning in game 3.
Yeah.
And because if you wade into the waters and if you're not managing pucks, it's a lot further to get back and track back at the Westland Arena. There's a lot more space. The Terriers will want to stretch you out. And if you're not aware where you are on the ice, the Terriers have shown everybody in this league that you are in big trouble in transition, especially if you are not having your P's and Q's, especially in the offensive zone. When the Bombers are in the offensive zone, that's when they're most at risk. As you look at the schedule there right away, again, 7 o'clock start in Yorkton. The Bombers need to be ready at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, for sure. Games 3 and 4, 7 o'clock at Westland Arena. Games 5, if necessary, will be back in Flin Flon on Sunday. Game 6 back in Yorkton next Wednesday. And then Friday, May 1st, will be Game 7 if required. So yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me too is I think Reed said it a little bit as well, but trying to take the game that Owl's Nest. I have heard about the Owl's Nest. They have all their meals from there.
They give the Terriers a lot of food,
They get a lot of meals from there, like road meals
Owl's
and stuff.
Nest,
So we'll have to maybe put that on the list. Anyways, they EE burritos. I like burritos. Burritos are good. Burrito bowls are usually gluten-free, right? For the most part, if they have burrito bowls.
I do like a burrito.
Okay, well, there's a couple of options. We got options. Love that.
Yep.
I think one of the biggest things, and again, Reed mentioned it, but trying to not change the way that they play from one rink to the other. A rink's a rink. I think Gavin said that too, kind of, but a rink's a rink. So let's just continue to play our game. And I think the biggest thing, again, I mentioned it earlier, Reed mentioned it, there's a bit of a size difference to the rink. It's shaped differently slightly, maybe a little bit more open space, a little bit more room to move around, which all year long has kind of suited the way that Yorkton generally plays. So I think for Flin Flon, try to maintain that physical, I don't know, for them, in their perspective, that physical superiority, trying to keep the edge physically if they can, and use the size that they have on the blue line, use the size they have in their forechecking group to really try to continue that.
Because
I think that's
to your point, it doesn't matter how big the ice surface is.
Right.
What matters is how connected the players are to each other.
Exactly.
How the space
Spacing,
relative is to each other. And there were so many times, if you watch, and I watched some film back too, games 1 and 2, where you just throw a net around the maroon jerseys in the home plate area.
Right.
Because the Terriers are just around the outside, and how do you get into that little shell?
And when you practice in that rink all year long, and you practice your systems in that rink all year long, that's why I think that Mike Reagan has done so well at home, because they've practiced to win at that rink. Then the transition is, now take that game to a slightly different sized ice surface and figure it out from there. And like I said, it's talking like they lose all the time on the road. They don't. They had a very good road record. But if there's going to be anything, that's going to be a key. And then for Yorkton, I think, if you want to switch the gambit a little bit here, what do you think that the key for them is going to be going into game 3?
I think, again, be confident. I think a big piece, what Gavin Bartha was talking about was that confidence piece. I think there were times where the Terriers would get into good positions, get in transition, puck would bounce over a stick, punch would bounce off a stick.
There's a lot of
just
bounces.
miss a pass. Things like that, whereas if they were a little bit more on their P's and Q's than the typical Yorkton Terriers with all the skill that they have, would generate more and make life harder on Charlie Tritt. And they were not, for the most part, able to do that in games 1 and 2. And that's not because they're not a great hockey team, because they are. We've seen that. They just were missing a little bit of confidence, maybe a little nervous, maybe the puck bouncing a certain way, whatever it was. So in this situation, take a deep breath and reset, and just feel confident that you've shown it before, you show it again. Now I think there's an element too of this Yorkton team also can just say, okay, now we have some finals experience, some deep playoff experience. Remember they went to round 2 last year, but I think they were kind of outclassed by Melfort in that. So they have that deep finals experience now. Take a deep breath and go again, because this series, based on the roster, the talent available, that the Terriers can really make this a long series. Even though they lost those 2, they did have a lot of good metrics. And I think they should feel confident at home.
Yeah, for sure. I think the one thing that is interesting is Riley Cormier was not in the lineup for game 2. Evan Auld, not with the team right now, with an injury issue that he has going on. And I hope, obviously, everything goes well with him.
Yeah.
But they have used those young players. They used them in game 1, Trey Peterson and DJ Brass.
DJ Brass looked so good.
I was going to say, they look pretty good.
Impressive.
But at the same time,
prospect.
you got to sort of, what's the saying? I always mess this saying up. You got to dance with the one you came with.
Yeah.
Those veteran guys, they're on that. They were in game 2 for a reason. They went veteran for a reason. And we saw that they were able to keep it tighter overall as a unit.
Yeah.
It's tough when 2
Well,
APs
I think
are in your
Aiden
lineup.
Valance was sick, so I think there was a
He got back in too, which is huge. That's
but I mean, I
definitely
think at home you also maybe feel a bit better. He really, Emery threw those kids into the fire there, and he wanted to put his best kind of offensive lineup to try to generate some offense.
And they got their ice time, but of course, anytime a coach is in this situation this late in the season, when you have 2 young APs in your lineup, regardless of talent levels, which is through the roof for both of those players, sometimes you shorten your bench a little bit and you go, I got to throw my vets out there. Getting Aiden Valance back was, I think, bigger than we are giving much credit for. I think he's going to be a big piece going forward the rest of the series, now that he's got his feet back under him again. Getting Riley Cormier, I don't know if he sat out. I don't know what the situation was there, but if they can get him back in the lineup, get another 20-year-old player, never hurts. So I think a big key is going to be, to me anyways, for Yorkton, we saw in Flin Flon, game 1, that first goal and how it set that rink ablaze. It was already wild, but wow, the frenzy ramped up 100 times that first goal, and it was the rest of the way from there. I think it's going to be, I'm going to say, pretty important / crucial for Yorkton to score that first goal in game 3 and get that crowd going. Or lay some big hits or do something to get that crowd going, because they are going to be, I think it's an important factor, and it's going to help them a lot if that crowd is cheering at every hit, cheering at every block shot, cheering at every zone clearing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it goes a long way in the playoffs when the crowds are into it like that.
Yeah, so, they need to be brave. We saw this Flin Flon decor. Their one pairing that they play a lot is not that big with Knutson and Fauchon. Obviously, Knutson's a tank. But then the other 4 D-men, NBA players. Yeah. Just monsters.
Literally.
They're huge. And so, again, they couldn't get inside the house, and that's where goals are scored. That's what you got to do. To do that, you can't be individual. You can't, I understand, we so understand the idea of Tommy Reese and Gabe Corshane and Jai Zawoski to say, it's my job to go and generate offense for the Yorkton Terriers. I'm going to take responsibility. Those are 3 great kids that want to win so bad. But you have to use your teammates. You can't try to do it alone against this Flin Flon team. They're too good. They're too good. Connected. So you have to work to get inside that house, score some greasy ones, open the game up a little bit more, play with the lead, I think, is your point. And that'll open up a little bit more space. And then you start feeling good, and then, good things can happen. So there's a lot to believe in if you're a Yorkton Terriers fan right now.
For sure. Austin Mattis was checking in. I don't know if I saw his comments earlier. He said, hello, gentlemen, looking great. Thank you, Austin. You were looking great, too, over the weekend. And then the one question, Jay Crockett, there's Austin.
The legend.
Jay Crockett tuned in. He said, great show, guys, despite the lack of North Star content.
Oh, sorry,
keep up the great work. Yeah, my bad.
We love Jay. Jay's
sorry,
the best PA guy in the league.
Shaner said, did you try Creighton Pizza? We drove by it. We did try the Prospector.
It doesn't seem to open at useful times.
Yeah,
it opens at 3 p.m. every day.
We tried the Prospector, but we were there for lunch, and Creighton Pizza wasn't open when we drove by. So we went to the Prospector, and
I wanted that Korean food.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation by the sounds of it there, but their chef just had a baby, and we'll leave it there. It wasn't what I was hoping it would be, but I'm not going to judge it because the chef wasn't there. So we'll leave it there. But if there's a game 5 and we get to go back, there's a couple other places in Flin Flon I definitely want to try out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next little while. But it's all going to start on Wednesday night, game 3 at Westland Arena. Sounds like they are trying their best to find ways to get people to stand on shoulders. They're trying their best to, you know, the little rascals where they go into the bank to try to get a loan, and there's like 4 of them stacked on top of each other.
All in one coat.
Yeah, that's what they're going to be doing that in Yorkton. All the kids are going to be 8 feet tall.
And also, get there early.
Yeah.
Because parking.
Yeah.
Is going to be something else too.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to all work, but I feel like they'll find a way.
We'll find a way.
They've been here before, these fans. 10 years, 12 years ago.
I think part of the problem last time I was there was there was like an agricultural show or something.
Oh, man. When they stack up
so
events.
that didn't help.
Whew.
But anyway.
All right. Well, that's it for the show today. Let's do one more sponsor thank you as we wrap up the show, as we thank CANTERRA Seeds. Of course, the CANTERRA Seeds Cup is here beside me. And I'm going to be chatting with a member of CANTERRA Seeds tomorrow for a special sponsor interview. Stay tuned for that. We'll post it on our YouTube channel, and you might see it down the road in our SaskTel broadcast. We'll see. Canalto Hotels, Capital Automotive Group, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, Chevrolet, Great Western, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Batterstad. And Neugsy, I just remembered, also get there early on Wednesday because Kyle McIntyre and company, and Nick Shumlansky mainly, will be handing out, I think it's is it 1,000 per game or 500 per game?
I think
Either
it's 1,000.
1,000 per game, I think. CANTERRA Seeds Boom Whackers.
Boom Whackers, yeah.
So if you miss out, they're gone quick. I think in Flin Flon, I saw one kid in game 2. I think he had 31. And he was just like, he had a bunch in his sweater pocket.
That's some quick
he was
chances.
They were dropping. It was at least 30.
Yeah.
But he had a lot. So they go quick. So grab them, get there early, grab them, get in line, get in the. You know what the best part about these games are? Get into the rink early. Get in for warm-ups. Make warm-ups rowdy. If you can make warm-ups loud, then you know the rest of the game is going to be a blast. So get there early, have a lot of fun, everybody. We'll see you there at the rink. Enjoy the hockey games. 3 and 4 coming up later this week. We'll see where this series goes from there. But until then, Clark with Neugsy, the boys in the back. We got Bryce, we got Connor, we got Jordan. There he is.
Jordan's
Thank you guys, everything that you guys do. Kelly Lewick upstairs, and everyone here at IKS. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you on the broadcast for SaskTel on Max TV. Go Pat C's. And enjoy the hockey, everybody. It's going to be a blast. Bye for now.